Welcome back to SwitchCorner, my name is Alex and today we're taking a look at 20 AAA releases I'm excited for that are scheduled for release on the Nintendo Switch in 2022. So with that luck, hit subscribe if you love the Switch, as much as we all do here, join our growing family, and let's get started. Before we do kick this off then, this is my personal list. Let me know if there's anything missing that I should be looking forward to. Also then, order-wise, this is not least hyped to most, but rather those games that have a release date, then a release window, then just a 2022 stamp. Dates can and no doubt will change, just as a heads up. Trailer-wise as well then, if it's a cross-platform release, I'd go ahead and presume that's not Switch footage you're looking at. Pokemon Legends Arceus then is set for release January 28th, 2022. It's the first time in a while as well I've been excited for a game with Pokemon on the box, not because I dislike the series, just because I was there when Red and Blue released. I adored them, and they've done very little to change up the formula since. I kind of basically got burnout. This release, though, it's exciting. While it's disappointing to hear it's not totally open world, rather multiple sandbox locations, the idea still fascinates me. You're heading to a base location, you get a quest, and then you set out to the desired location. That sounds like a good spin on the formula to me. I'm just hoping now these locations are packed with things to do and see. That's my only question after the trailers. It does strike me almost as a little empty at points. High hopes though with this one. Life is Strange Remastered then is a game I've wanted to visit for a while. I played one of the entries back in the day, but it's been a good while for sure. I was going to pick up True Colors recently, but I think I'll start here and switch up. They put out a glowing review of True Colors for the port work, so yeah, I hope this sees that same treatment. Episodic at release originally, they follow Max, an 18-year-old with, let's call it, abilities. I'm a sucker for a narrative adventure though, and I think it's fair to say these are considered some of the best out there. Release date then it's currently scheduled for February 1st. Triangle Strategy then is one high up on my list of most wanted in 2022, and it's currently got a March 4th release date. Coming from Square Enix, it's rocking the incredible Octopath Traveler style visuals. This isn't a traditional RPG, however, it's an adventure blended with unit-based strategy. I checked out the demo when it was announced and absolutely loved it. Story-wise, we'll be witnessing three nations battling for control of dwindling resources, and then it's paying a big focus to the landscape of these battlefields. It's got high and low ground to kind of traverse and strategize around. Persona 4 Ultimax then releases March 17th, and not the Persona I wanted personally, but I will support it in the hope Atlus come to their senses and give us a true Persona entry. Not even 5, maybe just 3 or 4, I will be happy. I'm easy at this point. Here though, we have an upgraded variation of a 2012 release that was designed to continue the story of 4. Not that you need to play it honestly, it is just a fighter after all. Rune Factory 5 then on March 22nd is looking real good. The 4th entry took me by surprise. It was my first foray into the series, but its combination of slice of life gameplay with dungeon crawling definitely got the addiction going for me, and now I'm excited for this one as well. While the 4th entry, it was a 3DS title that later saw an upgrade, this is built for more power, and that's definitely reflected in the visual style, which I'm liking a lot. Basically, we've gone from isometric to a more traditional third-person viewpoint, but it makes a huge difference to that feeling of the scale of the world around you. Characters, they also rock almost a cel-shaded look to them as well. As a new member of the organisation Seed, though, you'll be protecting this town, rounding up monsters. Expect here then the usual farming, crafting, cooking, and all sorts of activities along the way. 13 Sentinels then is our final release with a solid date. Whether it will be held though, I'm unsure at this point. I can tell you this though, incredible game. I played it on the PlayStation 4 at release, and this version is expanded with new mechs, 26 in total. That's going to be more than enough reason for me to jump in again. Well, that, and it's a game I absolutely have to cover. The gameplay though, you'll find yourself in a world where a kaiju war is taking place, and it combines RTS battles with side-scrolling exploration and dialogue. It's extremely unique, but I would also put it up there with the best of Atlus releases. How we still don't have a Persona though is crazy when we are getting this one on April 12th. Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp then has a release window but no solid date, that is spring 2022. While it was disappointing to see a delay on this one, I'm kinda cool with it, take the time needed, do it right. Waited this long, I can wait a little bit longer. I'm not sure it needs much of an introduction though at this point, but we return to strategic turn-based combat as a tactical advisor for the Orange Star Army. It's well loved for a reason though, the bite-sized battles are great fun, it's combining the first two entries' campaigns, and the thing that's really going to keep me coming back personally and jumping in, that's going to be the online play. Kirby and the Forgotten Land then is also scheduled for spring 2022, and I think the hype around this one is real and it makes sense. Kirby has been confined to the world of 2D for the longest of time. We finally see a 3D entry. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but I do believe that's the first time ever. I used to like Kirby years back, but recently they've just been a little easy for my liking, so I'm excited to see what this one brings. We'll be exploring a forgotten civilization though, the environments look great as well, and generally it looks stunning visually. Nintendo, they really know how to get the most out of the system, and I'm excited to see what abilities Kirby's bringing to the table. Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak then, and I'll keep this quick, I'm expecting it to be a sizable paid expansion for Monster Hunter Rise. For many as well, Monster Hunter Rise, that's going to be probably the best game of 2021. So far, all we have is a new hub town, new monsters and new NPC, but no doubt it has a lot more in store for fans out there. This is the first of the games in today's video with no release date announced outside of 2022, and that's going for the rest of today's video. Evil Dead the game, and you know what, I'm quietly confident this could deliver a good time, a multiplayer focused experience. It's a team co-op or versus gameplay style that tasks you with sealing the breach between worlds, kind of getting Dead by Daylight vibes to a certain extent, with it promising 4 survivors, looting, weapons and so on. My only concern here though is, does it have crossplay? You know, it's multiplayer only. How do they keep this community alive? Then also, how will it run on the Switch? Dead by Daylight, it's a little rough around the edges on the Switch and puts you at a noticeable disadvantage. On games that I want to see up and running on Switch hardware then, Lord of the Rings Gollum, and I've got a bit of concern around this one that it's going to be cloud-based, something I've tried to avoid for today's video, hence the omission of Dying Light 2, a game I'm psyched for, just not on the Nintendo Switch. That said, there's no word that's the case with Gollum, so here it is, a game that's going to be on everything from the Nintendo Switch to the PS5 and Series X. An action-adventure with Gollum taking the lead. I'm not sold on the idea honestly either. I'm hoping for some solid stealth here and acrobatics, but only time will tell. One I can nearly guarantee will be good, Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope. The first game was fantastic. It regularly now hits the bargain bin from a price point perspective, but don't let that deter you. It was a fantastic strategy entry that brought these two worlds together just, well, effortlessly. This one's a galactic journey though, and you're out to save the Sparks, but I'm just kind of curious now to see what it changes, if anything. I've got a feeling more the same. New locations though, bosses, and a few extra, move options basically. That's fine though, when the first was so good. Sonic Frontiers then is Sonic's latest outing, and I refuse to get my hopes up at this point. Let's face it, if any character has been shown a lack of respect over the years, it's gotta be Sonic. The only time I think I would get excited is if the title said Sonic Mania and it had a 2 slapped on the end. That said though, I'll be there. I always jump in on new Sonic games, and this one, it's a 3D outing that definitely gives me that Sonic Adventure vibe. I will give it this much at least, so the trailer looks decent, so that's a better start than usual. Otherwise though, don't get your hopes up. 9 times out of 10 with Sonic, you're just going to hurt yourself, and that's coming from someone that owned the original game back on the Mega Drive or the Genesis. Genshin Impact then, I had an internal argument on this one, is it AAA, but I think it's fair to call it that at this point, even if it did start on phones. That and the fact the studio behind it has a AAA in development in Canada, I believe it is. The game has a ton of hype around it though, it's already hit multiple platforms, and they've been threatening it for just like the longest of time now. When it does happen though, I'm determined it will be a direct stealth drop, it just kind of feels right for it. An action RPG though, for many they get that Breath of the Wild vibe. It makes sense given the open world, the visuals, it's kind of like a copycat, but it's a free to play, it gets your cash with a whole lot of microtransactions, so yeah, it's basically all a big spin on loot boxes. Game makes a fortune as well, but I will at least give it this, praise is definitely high. 2 Point Campus then is one for the builder sim fan in me. I grew up on games like Theme Park, Hospital and Roller Coaster Tycoon. This takes that formula, gives it a college campus vibe. I'll be there day one, they are near endless experiences, and the team behind this one, they did a fantastic job with 2 Point Hospital. I expect the same here. I also like the setting, it's something new for the genre. They also just nailed the sense of humour in Hospital as well, so a campus, I really think it has a ton of potential in that sense, and I'm curious to see what direction this construction building game really goes. Kingdom Come Deliverance then might be a risky pick honestly. A release was basically leaked, but no date has been given. I'm kind of hoping here it's 2022. This is one I've played a couple of times now over the years, and while it can be a little bit buggy at points, generally I think it's great stuff. A first-person action RPG set within medieval times. I'm hoping we do get the Royal Edition though, that sees all the extra DLC packed in, but it is a huge game. It's kind of exploration, it's world, it's super satisfying, but more than anything now I'm just curious to see how they get on with the port. You know, it's not a small world, it's gonna need a lot of love to get it up to scratch. Splatoon 3, and we are into the heavy hitters. The announcement of this one was just at the right time honestly. Splatoon 2, it was a huge hit for Nintendo, but it was kind of time for a new entry, and I'm excited now to jump into this world. I was actually a big fan of the second entry at launch, but over time I've kind of moved away. Hopefully this will capture the magic and my interest again. A third-person team-based shooter, I'm curious to see if it packs a little more in the way of single-player content this time around, but most will be coming here for multiplayer. It has a seriously active community, and I bet for many, this is one of the most wanted titles in 2022. Bayonetta 3 then is a game I feel like I've been waiting for, well, forever at this point. Finally though, we got an epic looking trailer. It seems they've pulled every bit of power from the current hardware, and they are saying a 2022 release, and from the trailer, it seems development at this point is relatively far along. The world is just incredible with this one, and few games can match the combat Platinum Games developed for the series. Story-wise then, we find ourselves in Tokyo saving humanity from evil, and it's promising new abilities as well. After the long wait though, I'm hoping it can live up to my expectations, which at this point, they are pretty damn high. Our penultimate game of the video then, AI the Somnium Files Nirvana Initiative, and this for me is one of the biggest releases of 2022. I stumbled upon the first one, I liked the box art in a store, picked it up and found an absolute gem, a strategy that rarely works out for me, but now I'll be day one on this one and I've already pre-ordered the collector's edition. An adventure video game though, it's part visual novel, almost part exploration and deduction, but I loved every moment of it. Adult storylines for sure though. This one we have a killer who cuts people in half, and sounds lovely. Basically though, 6 years ago the right half of a corpse was found, the left half was missing. Now it's turned up with no sign of decay. Go figure it out. Our final game of the video then, Breath of the Wild 2, and no doubt this will be the #1 pick of the year for many of you. Hopefully it arrives in 2022, but I'm also somewhat kind of skeptical, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it pushed back again. That's fine though, again, look, take the time needed, make sure a worthy follow-up is delivered. This far though, it's looking good if you ask me from the few cutscenes and gameplay we've seen. There's countless rumour videos out there though, I tend to ignore them, it arrives when it arrives, and it's got a lot to live up to. That's the last thing I will say on it, but yeah, you know, the first one was a masterpiece. Trying to match that is not an easy task. And that's 20 titles I'm looking forward to in 2022, or at least hopefully in 2022. What have I missed? What's on your list to pick up? Have you got anything pre-ordered already this far? And what games do you feel belong in your library? With that then, a shout out to the patrons of the channel who are going above and beyond to support SwitchCorner. It helps more than you know, so thank you all so much. Then hit subscribe if you love the Switch, as much as we all do here. Join our growing family, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.